What's cracking, everybody? Zerfel Rose here, bringing you some Pokemon Go Battle League content. And this week, love is in the air. Yeah, that's the best I got. I don't know. The Love Cup is coming to Pokemon Go this coming rotation, and it's a meta that we've had a few times now, and it's still mostly unchanged for the most part. This meta has been stagnant. The only real addition that we've had to this meta is the Wing Attack Charizard, which is the biggest one. And then we've also had a couple of other small additions, being Quick Attack Sylveon and Hisuian Electro. There's a few newer Pokemon that we've had in this meta since last year, but for the most part, it remains unchanged, which means most of the cores and things that you remember are still going to be just as good, with a little extra kick to them. I've got 5 really strong teams that I feel in this meta that are going to be good, and we're going to talk about each one of them. Let's real quick go over some highlights. Obviously, Medicham, Charizard, Lickitung. This is the this is going to be the top meta. This is going to be the strongest team in PvPoke, and also in the meta, I feel. With Lickitung on the lead, you're going to have Charizard on your safe swap, trying to draw out that thing that Lickitung maybe doesn't want to see. Maybe there's a or doesn't want to see Lickitung, so you may be, bringing out the Slowbro, or you might be bringing out something else that may have more impact on Medicham, but you would definitely be able to bait that out. And then Charizard, if it doesn't bait out something like, Slowbro or the Magcargo or something, could definitely flip switch and take that and give you alignment with the Medicham. So Medicham in this meta runs Power Up Punch and Psychic. We don't really need Ice Punch for anything in this meta, so you're going to be better off just running it with Power Punch. And that actually allows it to flip the Alomomola matchup as well. If you're running Ice Punch, I believe that's actually not a matchup you can win without it. So this is just strict BBML here. There's really not much going on here. I'm just going to talk about this team though. Right, it's an A, B rating, if that means anything to you. But basically, when I look at this team, I see that Charizard is really the only thing that straight up core breaks it. Obviously, yes, there is Talonflame if it wins. If it gets the Brave Bird, and then you've got things like a Hisuian Electrode, Magcargo, Miltank. Like, these are all things that are very neutral-ish matchups to Lickitung, so you could definitely make some play here. I think Wigglytuff is probably the strongest core breaker to the Lickitung and Medicham core, but I mean, honestly, you might see Wigglytuff, but with a lot of people running Charizard and Ariados, I don't think you're going to see as many, but you very well might, and this team is definitely a strong one to start the meta off with. But I would definitely not be surprised if you saw some variation of this team just in general on day one. So got the next team here, and pretty much all these teams are probably going to have a Charizard, Medicham, or Magcargo on, or not Magcargo, Medicham, Charizard, or Lickitung probably. The 3 Pokemon are just so strong that they can't be ignored, and they're really kind of those things that hold some teams together. So speaking of another one of these teams here, we've got Magcargo, which is probably one of the hardest answers to Charizard. You could run it with Rock Throw if you want, don't mind that. And the meta here, it has it with Rock Tomb. I still think that Stone Edge is the better move because I hate Rock Tomb and it just seems like an underwhelming move, but you do you. I'm going to run it with Stone Edge personally. But definitely some things that can core break this team here. So you've got, obviously, not having a great time with Alomomola. I think everything in the back is neutral, so that may be a very hard thing for this to deal with. You could potentially put like a Hisuian Electrode in here somewhere if you want to really hard cover the waters, but you could do whatever you like there. Issue then it would be against Crossel. It wouldn't be so great. But anyway, Ariados, in my opinion, is one of the more fun save swaps. You're definitely going to draw out a Charizard or a Talonflame with it, so that frees up hopefully your Medicham to do work in the back. So if we look at the previous team, right, if you bring in your Ariados to the opponent, they're probably going to bring in that Charizard, and then they're going to start, they're going to basically have to deal with a Medicham in the back that has basically 2 shields, and that would be a very difficult thing for it to do. So I do like this team. It does have a very decent coverage on the meta. Medicham in the lead would be kind of rough. You just kind of have to try and overwhelm them with your own Medicham in the end game, most likely. And Crossel would be a fairly difficult thing for this team to deal with if it has, because of the rock moves being Smackdown. That would be a very difficult thing for this team. So you could try and maybe put something else in the back. You could try and run it like maybe Galarian Slowbro. I think that would be another really interesting pick for this as an alternative here. I just really love Ariados. It's so much fun to me. I love it so much. So let's talk about the next team here. So this team is Charizard double water. Now the reason why that this works is because the 2 waters that we've got here, I think you could probably sub Alomomola out for Slowbro. I think that might be the more reasonable thing to do. But essentially what you're doing is you're trying to put Charizard in the front because it's just so dang good on this meta, and you're putting 2 things in the back that are able to deal with waters while still being water themselves, because you want to be able to cover the Magcargo weakness, because it's going to be out, because people are going to try to hard counter Charizard. It's just a thing that's going to happen. But Seeking itself actually does really well into this team, so you want to be careful with that. Hopefully you don't see too many of them. But for the most part, you have some very strong options in both these waters. Alomomola being one of the tankiest water types in almost all of the game. It just has a very linear kind of attack style. It just waterfalls until it gets to a Psychic or a Hydro Pump. So Seeking is triple legacy in this meta. If you have one, it actually looks really strong, especially because it has a really good matchup against Charizard. I actually am looking to try and make use of mine this week. So yes, Seeking does technically win the one-on-one matchups here, but it's even with Seeking, and Alomomola could do okay with it. But I definitely can see where you would probably be better off maybe using Slowbro here, maybe. In hindsight. So next team we've got coming up here is the triple bug team that I ran a little bit of last year when we had this meta. I think Walloware came up with this team, if not someone, I think he was the one who did it. But anyway, essentially the whole point of this is you've got a Rock Thrower in the lead, which is the Smackdown, which is the Crustle, and then you've got an Ariados, and you've got the Wormadam in back. You're meant to basically lure out the Charizard or Talonflame with one of those 2, and then use Crustle to take it out, and hopefully the other one will sweep. Which one you do kind of depends on the lead, right? You know, if you see something like a Medicham, probably going to be better off to bring in the Wormadam. Just because if you expect it to go down anyway, at least you're going to get to chunk damage with the confusions. But it's really going to be about what you're seeing in the team at the time. But again, you know, I like this team a lot because the Crustle, it'll take so many of those flyers by surprise, especially Charizard. I imagine it probably goes down in like like 3 rock throws. Let's find out, shall we? How many Smackdowns does it take to get to the Tootsie Roll center of a Charizard? Literally 5. It takes it out in 5. Oh, that's disgusting. I'm running Crustle this week. I'm gonna do it. So Lickitung is a bit of a core breaker for this team. Yes, it's probably going to be common. Alomomola could technically be a core breaker for the team, but again, the Wormadam matchup is a little bit more neutral, but because of the Iron Head move, it does resist that, so that makes it a little bit more of a pain. But for the most part, you're not going to see a whole lot of Dredagon probably, and I don't think you're going to see very many Milotic, so Crustle is really the only thing that kind of hammers through this team because of the fact that those Smackdowns are all basically unresisted across this whole team. So let's talk about the last team that I've got drawn up here. Yeah? Maggie's watching a movie. She's excited. Last team I've got here, a little bit more on the spicy-ish side if you want to see. Take a look at the movesets here. We've got the double Hyper Beam gang here. So you can safe swap whichever one of these you like, and you're essentially going to be able to get Hyper Beams. Now, Hyper Beam is going to be a great move. You want to Hyper Beam things, don't you, Maggie? So no, I just want to watch another movie, Dad. Maybe goofball. You couldn't sit out of this. You had to join me. It was all right. So we're going to talk about Hyper Beams now. I enjoy running Hyper Beam because the thing with the Lickitung is if the opponent safe swaps in or if they counter swap, I should say, their Scrafty into the Lickitung and they don't shield it, bye-bye Scrafty. It's great. The team gets pretty decent coverage, but really, like, Medicham is going to be super much... it's a huge pain for this team. Now, if you've played the Lickitung matchup a bunch with... there's a toy. This is not how you ride bicycles, Maggie. That's not how you ride it. You trying to save it for later? Lickitung against Medicham actually isn't a terrible matchup if you lure it out. If they don't shield enough times with the body slams, you can actually shield and lick them down, which is a really, really nice thing to know. I think in this meta, there's a core breaker for every team. There's no such thing as a perfect team, so do with it what you will. But this Hyper Beam team is super fun, and you're gonna one-shot things or make people wish that you you know, just couldn't. And plus, Electrode is even more usable now because of the Charizard in the meta. You could honestly try and use other things as well, other than the Lickitung, but I mean, I feel like because it's just Hyper Beams. You don't want to run Hyper Beam. So that's going to do it for the top teams for the Love Cup, guys. Thank you so much for catching this video. Again, if you want early access to all the teams and whatever other teams that I come up with in the middle of the rotation, in the Patreon Discord, we get all that early access to everything, and basically, you also get live streams from me at least twice a month, so that's also something to look forward to. So link in the description for that, and if you're looking for coaching, we got you on Medify, link in the description for that as well. And we're gonna go, and we'll see you guys next time. Thank you so much for watching. We'll catch you in the next one. Bye bye.